just started the recording there, and then I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay.
Oh, wrong button.
Yep, that was the wrong button. I actually switched mice not long ago, and I use a side button for my dynamite and for my jump, and
Uh, okay, so mechanics not looking too terrible so far. Though we do just get domed there, so let's rewatch that. So we're hitting shots decently fine. Okay. Alright, so you just gotta make sure we're paying attention to the Hanzo. Right there, we see him up on the top and for a little bit, and we also see him shooting shots in at us. So, and there we just saw him shoot a shot past our head, and we heard that as well. And then here we also can see him peeking around the corner, and then we just get domed. So the only thing there would just be to be aware of the fact that he's there, and then therefore maybe we don't get domed in the head if we're paying attention and we don't walk out into the open. So that's an option there. Though honestly, just getting one tapped isn't the most terrible mistake on your part.
sure. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, watch the high ground above you, right? So we're not getting hit
I
like
was trying
that.
to catch that, but yeah, I was trying to. But
It's also usually if we're planning to go to that high ground anyways, you can just come out on the stairs to go to it, right? Which might be an easier option that wouldn't require you to use your coach gun to get up there.
yeah, that makes sense.
All right. I think we might have to talk about some stuff here in a moment. Okay. Make sure we're not sitting low HP. Whenever we see we're just down HP, we're requesting healing. That's going to let supports know where we are, what character we are. It's going to get us healing faster. And then also we should probably be looking for health pack if they're not healing us up, or if we have a health pack next to us, which there is one in this room. So, it's just making sure we're not sitting low HP.
Okay.
Also, preferably, we should probably be taking some positioning there. We just kind of sitting around for a little bit, not really doing too much. And we probably should just be taking better positioning and looking for some spam shots during this time. Okay, good job boosting him away from you. Still sitting in at 114 HP, right? That's the difference between a Hanzo having to headshot you or body shot you. Right here, you can just one shot body shot us. So you just don't want to be sitting at that health.
Yeah, I think I need to set a hotkey or something like that for healing.
Yep, you definitely.
I don't have.
I definitely would recommend that. All right, so let's see how we're gonna use Bob here. Oh, actually, I like that timing, and the placement for Bob is actually not too shabby there. So that's actually a really decent Bob. I like it. Yeah, when somebody's right on top of us, that might be where we want to just use our unscope shots, not be trying to scope in, as when you scope in, you're going to be both, the big thing is you're going to be lowering your mobility as it slows you down, as well as lowering your visibility as it zooms you in, which when you're right next to somebody isn't going to be what you want to be doing, and it's actually going to be making it easier for the Genji to headshot you. So when he's right on top of you, just unscope shotting is going to be more effective rather than trying to scope in on him. And then, besides that, good Bob. I think we might talk about some positioning stuff at some point here. Alright, make sure that we're not trying to re-engage when we don't have any teammates with us. So let's why don't we go over just how to tell whether or not a fight's won or lost real quick then, just since that's kind of on a similar topic to this. How to tell whether or not you have won or lost a fight, right? That comes down to watching kill feed, top right corner of your screen. When you are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage. When you have an advantage, you can play more aggressively because you have less people to kill you, less people to damage you, less people to tank to heal, so you can get away with more. When you are up 2 to 3 people, that is a one fight. At that point, ulting would become useless as you've already won the fight. And then also you want to look to get super aggressive so you can go and get stagger kills. Now this also goes the exact opposite way when you are down 1 to 2 people. That is a disadvantage. When you have a disadvantage, you might want to play more passive. Though it doesn't mean you lost the fight, you are just losing the fight. Right? When you are down 2 to 3 kills, which would be this instance where we're trying to push in when it's only 2 people, so it'd be 1 2 versus 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? That means that this fight is a lost fight. So to clarify again, 2 to 3 down 2 to 3 is a lost fight, in which case you don't want to use ults. You don't want to push into this because it's basically saying I want to lose before I even start the fight. And then also at the same time, you want to look to get out if possible, or if not possible, let them kill you, right? So in
Yeah, I
this,
got okay.
good.
Yeah, so do you think that I should have so if I'm thinking about what I would have done instead knowing that, I probably would have taken that high ground on top of the ship, on top of the
Mhm.
spaceship.
Yep, that's
Is
perfectly
that right?
fine.
Okay,
Yep, you
alright.
just reposition, right? Wait for your team to group back up because they're all just coming back out of the spawn. So we'd maybe like take up somewhere along this, or even the top high ground's fine too. Or even if you wanted to, we could maybe do something like over here. It's just we have a lot of different options. Just the wrong option would be to
Was
run in,
there.
right?
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
All right, so one thing I'm noticing a little of, and I'm trying to see if it's something that's going to continue at all, and I'm just going to mention it for now, but I won't go too in depth on it. But we seem to be spending a little bit of time, a little bit too much at the moment, of time spending shooting at their tanks, which usually you're going. Keep in mind that you're going to want to be focusing DPS and supports just because they're going to be a lot easier to kill with higher value on their heads. So that's just for the moment. I'll go more into depth if I see more of that, but
Okay.
there's just been a little bit where I've seen us spending too much time shooting at them. Again, we seem to do this on the other point too. Make sure we're coming out to the high ground, so we're coming out this right side and taking the high ground rather than coming out on the bottom left. So why don't we just talk about the advantages of high ground real quick, because high ground has a lot of them, right? And maybe we're not utilizing them super well. So high ground positioning has a whole lot of benefits, right? First off, all of high ground acts as natural cover, right? So that means that when we are up here, I guess I'm trying to find a good example of this. So we are up here, we peek the edge here, they can all see us. We walk away from the ledge, and now a lot less people can see us, right? If we walk all the way back here right now, none of them can see us, right? So all of high ground acts as natural cover because we move away from the ledge and nobody can see us, and therefore nobody can shoot at us, right? Second thing is that most characters can't get up to high ground. Ana can't get to high ground, Sigma can't get to high ground without using stairways, right? Now Ball can, but he needs an ability, right? And Mercy can, but she needs an ability, and right, and that means that they've just used their abilities. So now against their team composition, it does not offer as much of protection as it would against other team compositions, but it still does give you increased survivability, especially when most of the characters in the game can't just immediately get to a high ground, right? Um, Second or thirdly, right, all of high ground gives you really great angles and visibility. So one moment we could be peeking and seeing people all the way over here. We can see people all the way over there. We can see people all over here, and we can see people all the way over here, and we can see all of the high ground. We have visibility all over all of high ground. Whereas, let's say for example, we're all the way down here. Well, now we only have visibility over this point. We don't really see much of the high ground at all, right? And we can't see anything all the way over on this side of the map. So high ground gives you more visibility to be able to shoot more things and get to more places. And then on top, those are all the main ones, right? And then on top of that, also like just high ground's good for the enemy team too. So if we take control of it, that means that they can't get it, right? So you kind of rip that advantage away from them and give it to your teammates.
Perfect. Got
So
it. Thank
just taking high ground a lot more here probably would be good. And then that would mean if we just walk out to high ground, we wouldn't need to use an ability.
Yeah, I actually sometimes I debate if I should Like when I came out of spawn, it was that
Mm.
thought of, do I take more time to go around to the stairs to take high ground, or do I start off going low and use my coach to go up? But now I have to wait for my cooldown for the coach.
I probably say it takes less time to get to the honestly, like it's even a faster path to go to wherever you're wanting to go to the high ground. It's not that much of extra time at all. Like
Got
coming
it.
out this is barely
Right.
anymore. It's like
Yeah.
maybe you'd be saving like an extra 2 seconds to go bottom left, except for you get the high ground advantage. Almost every single time that you're coming out of spawn, you should be coming out up here, unless the enemy team has it very heavily contested.
Got it. Okay.
Now over here, now this is slightly different because this does take more time to go up the stairs to get here than it does to go to the bottom. So in that case, you have to assess: am I trying to rush to point, or is it worth taking like an extra 2 seconds? Which most of the time it'll be worth taking the extra 2 seconds, but sometimes you have to make the decision not to just go for the burst positioning. All right. Um, it's looking like we're not really noticing too well when people are getting right up next to us. So this comes in at what you call awareness of paying attention to our environment, as this has been happening a little bit so far where someone will like walk up like right here next to us and we just don't notice until it's too late. Like for example, notice which direction we try to run and which direction the enemy is when that's attacking us, right? So we see, oh, we're getting shot at, let's run into the person who's shooting at us, right? So we just want to make sure that we're paying attention to which direction we are taking damage from and which direction the people are, right? We have a multiple different indications of awareness that can show us that the Genji is on our right. We can hear the Genji who's on our right, right? We can, when he starts doing damage to us, you can see it. So on our screen, let's try to pause it on the moment, right?
Yeah.
On our screen, when we take damage, you're going to see right next to your crosshair, it gives you a damage indicator, and it's going to tell you what direction the damage is coming from. All right. Now, for some
I was
reason,
I was trying to what I was trying to do, and I just didn't do it well. What I was trying to do, I knew he was to that side because of because of that damage indicator.
mm,
So I was trying to coach gun because I figured he was about to dash towards me. So I
mm,
was trying to coach gun so that I would then end up basically I knew he was on that side, and I figured if he dashed past me when I coach gunned, then he would end up on that other side. I missed the coach, and I ended up
mm.
running into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's a bet. I don't know. It's hard to say because like you could be correct there, but it obviously in this situation that prediction doesn't turn out to be true because he doesn't dash through you. A better decision would be maybe to just coach gun down and to get up to the high ground, or to coach gun, in a coach gun him away, which would disorient him and also do damage to him. This would, if you coach gunned him directly, what that would do is it would launch you backwards, but it would also launch him backwards. So it would double the distance in between yourselves, which would mess him up, and then it would give you time to, get, to actually avoid him. So I would probably say that you're gonna don't like go for the crazy prediction when you could just go for like a normal play and it would work probably better than this, right? Don't feel like you have to do something crazy there.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
All right.
Time to change things up.
Okay. I like that we just came out on the high ground there. That was good. Open up with the dynamite. Yep, there we go. Um, so I'm noticing a little bit of this again. It's kind of like on the same note as our target priority. So I'll mention I'll go a little bit into depth on target priority because I'm noticing that we're going in on the Sigma to start there. Um, and then also this next thing as well. So it's not a ton of this, and it's not like a big thing, but I am noticing these two. So target priority, just going a little bit more into depth on it. Tanks aren't the things you want to be shooting at, right? Tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have shields, they have tanking abilities, and on top of that, they don't have as much statistical output as other characters do. So supports do healing and DPS do damage, whereas tanks, their job is to tank. Now that is a very important role, but it's not one in which it makes them a high value kill. So what that means essentially is that when we have an equal opportunity to shoot at both of them, or we can actively seek out the supports or DPS, we should probably be going for the supports or DPS. So when we're coming out here, we should probably be looking at DPS and supports first. But here we kind of look at it. Looks like we almost accidentally killed the Hanzo there because we were shooting at the Sigma, and we're shooting at the Sigma when Mercy's an option. So that's just, it's a little bit of shooting, just looking and shooting at Sigma when we probably should be going for the other things. Now that's not to say that we never shoot at tanks, right? We shoot at tanks when they're low. We shoot at them when they're out of position, or if they're the only thing to shoot at. But we don't shoot at them when they're not the only thing, or when none of those are the case, right? Now, the other thing that I would mention that we're struggling a little bit with is what you call actions per minute, and that is making sure that we're constantly doing something and we're not taking weird breaks and pauses. So a good comparison to make here is like you compare a bronze player to a grandmaster player. A grandmaster player is going to be efficient with every single second of their gameplay for the most part, right? They're going to be trying to be doing something all the time. Whereas if you take a bronze player, they're going to go pew pew pew, shoot shoot shoot, and then they're gonna take a random pause and they're gonna not stop shooting and they're just gonna walk around and then they're gonna go shoot 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 pew pew pew, and they're gonna be like, oh wow, look at the pretty birdies in here. Oh wait, I'm in a fight, right? And then pew pew pew, shoot shoot shoot, right? It's just a lot of random pauses and they're not being as efficient with their time, and that's what you call actions per minute, doing more stuff with your time. So we see that a little bit when we come in here. Is we come back from spawn. First off, I would say, well, we're walking back from spawn, use your coach gun just to go faster. You're not going to need it within the, it's a 10-second cooldown you'll have by the time you actually get into a fight. So just use it the second you spawn in so that you can just get there faster. But then notice how we come in here and then we just take like a 4-second pause before we start actually doing anything. So we come in, the moment we see someone, we're going to start counting here. So we see someone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we kind of like pause for like 4 seconds, and the reason why I'm bringing this up isn't because it's happened once, but because it's been something that's kind of happened a couple times where we just kind of randomly take pauses when we could be doing stuff. So it's just, I'm bringing that up. It's not a massive thing, but it is a thing.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
Prioritize staying alive over killing the Mercy there, right? It's worth it. It's more worth it to stay alive than it is to get one kill. Going 1 for 1 is not a good trade-off for a DPS. That a 1 KD is not very good at all, because then if you have somebody who's going 3 for 1 or even more than that, those are the people who are going to be doing a lot more than you, right? That's just kind of how it works, right? That's how the KDs work, right? When you have like above a 3 KD is where you're actually starting to see value on DPS. 1 for 1 isn't very good. So if the Genji's on top of us there, it seemed like we were trying to just fit in an extra couple of shots on the Mercy. Don't do that. Just immediately react to the Genji. Prioritize staying alive, because if you stay alive, then that opens up for you to get more kills. If you're dead, you can't do anything, right? If you're dead, you got 1 kill and then you're dead and then you didn't, essentially it's as if you didn't do anything at all. If you stay alive, then that opens up for the potential for you to get more kills. It means that you can go more than just 1 for 1. It means that you can go, it means you can go for 2 for 0, right? Or 2 for 1, right? Just keep in mind, 1 for 1 is literally the exact same as 0 for 0. So 0 for 0 is actually better for you, because then you have the ability to do more, and you're not feeding them ult charge, and you're actually participating, and you're able to carry. So we just want to make sure we're staying alive, because every time somebody gets on us, it's as if we kind of stand still and let them kill us for free, right? So in this instance, we want to make sure we stop shooting at the Mercy, and we actually get away from the Genji, right? So we hear Genji dash up, we see him shoot at us, we take damage, we see the shurikens or the damage indications on us. We should be looking up, coach gunning him away, right? But we shoot at Mercy twice more, and then we look at the Genji, which means by the time that we look at him, we're already 4 HP, right?
Yep, that makes sense. One quick question for you on that. What if a Mercy is rezzing? Because then it's a 2 for 1. Is that still not worth it?
So if the Mercy's rezzing, it depends on the situation. In this situation, she already rezzed, but while we're still shooting at her. So Genji comes
Yeah.
on us, and like she has the res off, and we go 1, 2, like, so those 2 shots that we should not have shot came after she had already finished
Gotcha.
rezzing.
Yep.
If you know that you can finish the kill, and it's a 2 for 1, then that might be worth it. But in that situation, that wasn't the
Gotcha.
case.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you. Okay, that makes sense.
Let's
Also,
clean
make
up
there
this
we were
mess.
scoping in again when he was like right on top of us. Just keep in mind we'd be unscoping there again. Okay, nice reload habits. I like it. Okay, notice again kind of the actions per minute cutting in here again. I don't think that going to the very top high ground gives you very much more value than just sitting on this middle high ground. Maybe if you wanted to go there, like for a different, like let's say there's somebody else up there that you wanted to duel, or if you're resetting there at the very end, like in between fights, then that becomes important. But at the moment, I'd probably say that it doesn't really do a ton for you. But and then going up there does a couple things. First off, it wastes some time because it's taking, like, going up and around takes more time than if you just went through, right? It just takes an extra couple of seconds. And then also it's just using a cooldown, which you might need if someone comes to contest you, like the Genji, for example. You might want your coach gun. So notice here again with actions per minute how we're going to go up, and then we kind of do a very slow approach, right? We kind of, instead of just the fight's going on, right, we should be shooting at people at the moment, but notice how we're going to, instead of just walking in a straight line to the edge, peeking over and then starting to shoot immediately, we kind of do a slow approach where we go forwards, we go forwards, we go forwards, and then we curve to the side, and then we sit here, and then we sit here, and then we go look for it, right? So it's just an extra like 2 seconds, 3 seconds that we're wasting, and I'm just trying to point these out because they're happening frequently. And again, we're
Yeah,
just sitting here, and then you kind of see the reposition where we move around, and then we sit here and wait, right? And then we acquire targets. It's time that we could be doing other things and participating, and then because we weren't, we end up losing the fight, right?
Yep, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it looks like we're trying to get out. Oh, make sure that when we're going for longer distance dynamites that we're not standing still for them. That's that tech to, I assume you understand that tech. You're an Ashe player, right? You know to stand still when you're throwing a dynamite, but that doesn't apply when the dynamite's like a super far dynamite, because, or even sometimes a medium one, because then that just gets you headshot super easily. So if we're going for a dynamite at that distance and people are looking at us, we might be better off just moving around a little bit and still trying to hit it, because that's not going to get us one tapped, whereas here we do just get one tapped.
Yep.
That was not an just point me in the right direction. Bob, do something.
Okay, I like the Bob. So I like a couple different things. First off, I like that we're using Bob like off a cooldown, so just every time we get him, we're not holding on to him for extended periods of time, which some other people have the problem of. And we're also throwing him in actually some pretty good positions. Their only thing I would say is make sure that we're paying attention to on a sleep dart, as Bob just does get immediately slept, and we might want to use it after we've seen sleep get used, because then he just doesn't get slept for half of the ultimate, right, and then get countered half of it. So just pay attention to Honest Sleep Dart. Besides that, like, once Honest Sleep Dart's gone, there's really nothing you have to worry about, right? That's it. That's pretty much it. So just watch for the Sleep Dart, and then you're good. But besides that, let's just do some strengths and weaknesses real quick, because that's kind of the point in the session where we get into that. Ultimate usage, honestly, probably going at a low isn't too much that I've seen a problem with. It's honestly probably the best thing that you have going for you at the moment. Our ults have been looking really solid, and so just keep that up. So ultimate usage is a low priority. Ability usage is seeming like a low to medium. It's not like insanely important, though. I would say maybe use your dynamite just like as soon as we're coming into fights sometimes, because we're kind of delayed, a little bit delayed with it, and you just wanted to get it out. It's just something that you spam out there as often as possible. Coach gun, make sure you're like when Genji's on top of you that you're trying to coach gun him away, so like hit him directly with it so that you get double the distance, not just booping yourself away or just booping him away. It's booping both of you in opposite directions. Then besides that, just making sure that we're taking high ground so we're not forced to waste it. Then besides that, not too much else. Mechanics, I do think that mechanics is like just general mechanics of you shooting at stuff. I think that that's pretty average. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's fantastic. So I think that will need a tiny little bit of practice, but it's not, that part's not the worst. Though where you do get into some more is target priority and actions per minute do add to that category. So mechanics is looking like a medium or maybe a medium high at the moment. Positioning, we've talked a little bit about positioning. I think the big one is just, I think the big one is really just taking high grounds, and then also just make sure you're not rotating in the middle of fights. So like that's the kind of what we did on that last fight, was that like we took the high ground route, which put us, it didn't let us shoot at people for a longer period of time during the fight, and we want to be shooting at people during the fight. So we'll put positioning at like a medium for now, just because we haven't talked a ton on it. And then finally, you have awareness, which awareness again, we haven't talked a ton on, but that will like definitely be one that we'll probably touch on more. We talked about watching kill feed. We talked about paying attention when people are on top of you, and then those are the main ones. So probably awareness is going at a medium as well. All right.
Okay.
So just yep, there we go. Dynamite.
Don't waste my time.
Okay, so again, another small thing. I think we
Don't
might
waste my time.
go over this. It's just a lot. It's weird because it's like a lot of small things that like aren't being repeated. So it means that like I'm not really going into depth on a ton here because I usually go into depth on the things that like keep happening over and over again. But it seems like it'll happen and then it won't happen. And like a mistake will happen and then it's onto a different mistake and then onto a different mistake. But
Yeah.
here, just keep in mind that we want to make sure we're intentionally going for headshots, not just body shots. Headshots do a whole lot more damage than body shots do. Um, I might get into crosshair placement later if we need to, but at the moment, just know when Sigma's standing still here, and we can just go for headshots super easily on him because he's standing still right when someone's shattered, when someone's standing still, when someone can't is grabbed, when they can't, when they're slept, when they can't move, when they're scoping in like an Ashe, Widowmaker, or a Ana, right? Go for the intentional headshots because they just do a whole lot more. He stands still for like 3 seconds straight here, and we just go for all bodies, all bodies, all bodies, right? When that would be a kill, it had we gone for headshots, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here it comes.
Right. This high ground is really far back is the only problem with it. So I probably would say that if our team's holding that far forwards, we might even want to be on the low ground, but the top left where like the turret's at would be a lot more effective because it's a lot closer to the enemy team than this is. Um, we don't, again, it hasn't been something that's been repeated, so I don't want to go super in depth on this, but just know that this is outside of the range in which Ashe prefers. She is not a sniper in the same sense that Widowmaker is, because she has what you call fall off damage, and the further away she is, the less damage she does. So I can demonstrate that if we continue to do this. But for now, just know we don't want to be positioning this far away. Usually we want to be positioning more so at a medium range. This is way too far, which means that we're not going to be doing as much damage
Just point
as
me
we
in
could
the
be.
right direction.
Got it.
Now, our team is also really far forwards. Like, if the cart was like, this positioning might be slightly better if the cart was closer. But, I mean, honestly, you'd also probably find just more, usually you're going to find more benefit over being like on the left high ground or this high ground just because you have more room to work with and there's a little bit more cover for you to use.
Surrender to my will.
Yeah, if we like stay here or we like leave this spot and then come back to it, then we probably would talk about it. Just we'll go into the training range just so I can demonstrate to you like what ranges should we be at. Just left click him. So left click just how it works usually is you left click when something's right on top of you or when they're low HP and next to you, right? You can also left click if you're just trying to like, burst something down like super fast that has a large health. But usually those are the two main ones: when something's low and next to you, or just next to you, right? And then you're left clicking. Anything else should probably be scoped. But like when the Genji's on top of us like that, we probably should just be unscoping those shots. Yeah, there's a lot of tank shots. Yeah, it's just
I guess I wasn't seeing any other DPS there, so I was
yeah.
gonna have to get up a lot closer if I wanted to target.
Yeah, so they're the one that I was looking at was like Mercy, for example. Like we probably could have been shooting at Mercy instead of those guys because Mercy was out in the open.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Decent timing with Bob. Decent placement with him. Do they have sleep? Yes, they do. Make sure we're watching for this sleep. All right. Really, the only thing with Bob. Okay, why don't we just talk about range real quick? So we're at 810. All right, go to practice range here real quick. All right. So on Ashe here, like we just said, she has what you call fall off damage. So when we are right up here on someone, it takes us 1, 2, 3 shots to kill them. We back up a little bit, get to about this range, and now it's taking us 1, 2, 3, 4 shots to kill them. Right, so because we're getting further away, we back up to this range, which is similar to what we were working with in the last match we were on. Right, it takes us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots to kill, right, which is 2 times the amount of shots it took when we were up there, right? So Ashe does not prefer this range. On top of that, this is just a much more difficult shot to hit. Of course, shots, when somebody is a smaller target, it's a harder target to hit, right? So when they're smaller, then that means that it's going to be a lot more difficult, and therefore we probably want to be closer. It's harder to hit that target than it is to hit this guy, right? Just because he's closer. Or even this guy when he's running right up next to us is a lot easier of a target to hit. So we basically want to be a lot closer, right? We probably prefer on Ashe a little bit of a longer range than some other characters. Like we're slightly longer than McCree, but we still prefer medium range. So that would be roughly like 20 meters to probably where you start to get fall off. So like 35 is roughly the range in which you prefer, because this is still decent and you're still doing your max damage. I believe that you still do 3 tap from here. I accidentally headshot 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's 4 shots, so maybe like even slightly inside of that, right, would be preferred. But honestly, 4 tap isn't nearly as bad as 6 tap, right? So somewhere within like this to up here or up here would be like where you're wanting to position at a medium range, not at a long range in which we are playing in that game. All right.
Got it. That makes sense.
Arriving at watch point, ready for battle.
Okay, we're at 8 minutes, I believe I said. Watch, you're standing still again. In this game, you're gonna constantly want to be moving around. So we're at 8 minutes. Why don't we just talk about AD strafing real quick? Usually in this game, you're going to want to move around, and we've died a couple times just because we've been standing still. Basically, this is the same concept that applies in real life too. You getting shot at, you want to do some serpentine, right? You just move left, you move right. You're a lot harder to hit than when you're standing still. That's a harder target to hit than this guy is, just because when something moving, it's a harder target to hit. So don't stand still for long periods of time. There's only specific instances where you can stand still. So for example, if you're dynamiting like right in front of yourself, then you can stand still to make that super easy. Or if people don't know where you are, you can stand still, but only for a couple of seconds. Like even in that situation, we don't want to stand still for long, because if there's 6 other people in the enemy team, we're not always going to be able to see everyone at all times. So somebody could see us that when we don't see them, right? If we're looking at these guys, right, and not at the bot over there, it doesn't mean that the bot over there can't see us, right? So he could be shooting at us. So make sure we're not standing still. Instead, what you do is you do what you call AD strafing. So that's just because it's A and D, left and right. Right? You just go left, you go right, you go left, you go right, and you just do this on repeat, like all the time, even while scoping, even while just moving around. You don't have to do it when you're like walking somewhere, but when you're standing, anytime you're standing in one place and you're moving around, you're just constantly going to be doing this. Now, it's not doesn't have to be the exact pattern of left right, but you do want to you mix it up a little bit, right? You just jiggle it around. It can be random. You don't have to be, don't have to do the exact same thing over again. You add in crouches, try not to add in jumps. And then that's going to be how you stay alive, right? Some more on that topic. Don't do it too fast. If you do it too fast, then you're not even moving at all. That's like, you see our crosshair on this guy, that means we're barely even moving on their screen, right? Don't do it too slow because it's going to be predictable, right? Because you're just walking in a straight line. Instead, you want to find a kind of nice medium one where you're going one side and the other side, right? Kind of at a medium pace that you're also going to find that's the kind of decently easy to still track while you're doing it, right? It's decently easy to still shoot people while we're in it, because especially once you get used to it. Just be careful that you're not completely, you're being aware of how you're moving while you're shooting, so it's not messing you up. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Okay.
Okay, in general, we've been dying quite a bit. Just make sure we're trying to stay alive and we're looking at why we're dying, because we've died a lot, and then when you die, you just lose a ton of value. Like, you're not able to do anything for 20 whole seconds, 10 while you're respawning and 10 while you're walking back. You also just lose your ability to do things and carry and, have an impact, and you're also putting your team at a disadvantage, so you're more likely to lose the fight. So we want to look to cut out our deaths, because our team lost that fight, and that's partially due to the fact that we died, right? So we want to look to stay alive longer, pay attention to why did I die, think about it. Here, make sure we're not running back out when we have teammates still respawning, right? We don't want to be going in and staggering ourselves even further, right? If we die here, then that means that we go back to spawn, staggering yourself, just as a reminder, right? It means that our team has two options. Either they wait for us, or they could do what we're doing and not wait for us. If they wait for us, then that means that we've just wasted time. If they don't wait for us, like what we're doing, and they just run out, well, now they could just start a stagger train where now we die, and then our diva goes out, and their diva dies, and then our Moira goes out, and the Moira dies, and you just keep going out one by one, and then you never get a fight, right?
Yep. Okay.
So that starts with us. We just want to make sure we're not doing it. Might want to, especially as like a DPS character. Now it really depends. Are you in like super stall mode or not? Right side is faster than left side, but at the moment we're not in super stall mode, so you might want to come out left side as a DPS because you have a little bit more cover to work with over here. We didn't go too much in the cover, but we have these boxes we can use. We have a pathway to high ground if we wanted to. We can just run up here and then coach gun up to high ground if we desired. We can come left side and have an off angle, but it's probably just gonna be better than coming out right side.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So again, just like not as something that we haven't gone super into depth yet on, but just another thing is good general positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. That's why high ground's really good. When we are right here and we can go boop, right, half of a second, then that is good positioning. When we're standing right here on point and we have nowhere to run, and when we get shot at, that's bad positioning because there's no cover anywhere. Right, so that's why just left side would be better than the right side, because on the right side there's like, if you look around, not too much cover, whereas left side you have a little bit more cover, right? Especially these boxes and this left room, right, act as more cover than what you have over there.
Yep. Okay.
Nice shots. All right.
Ready, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Escort the payload.
Smoke him out of there.
Yep. Usually, again, this is just kind of putting ourselves out of our long range, so we might want to get closer range, which would be like, up here might be a little bit closer, right, to them, or even just like, the closer we get, the bit more we're doing. Here we're just kind of playing at our max range again, which is just not doing as much damage. Nice. I like the corner peeking there. That's really good.
Enemy turrets down.
Make sure we're getting healing so we're not sitting at 144 HP. Okay, especially we're 11 minutes. Why don't we go over this real quick? Just okay, we'll go in depth a little bit on crosshair placement. So, are you familiar with the term crosshair placement?
I believe just where you're trying to put your crosshairs.
Yep. Crosshair placement is where you're trying to place your crosshairs. So, why don't we just go into this a little bit? Basically, the first major thing in crosshair placement is placing a crosshair at head level, right? In the crosshair placement is just placing your crosshair in the best place possible to hit the easiest shots, and the best place possible to hit the easiest shots is head level. When we are aiming here, we have to adjust up and to the right or up and to the left to hit headshots, and headshots do a whole heck of a lot more damage than body shots do, right? You're doing a lot more damage, and therefore you get more kills and faster damage, which is always going to be better. When we're aiming head level, it's a lot easier to hit those shots. Of course, when the further your crosshairs to travel, the harder shot it is to hit. Right, it's harder to hit that shot than it is to go like this, just because it's a lot shorter of a distance that our crosshair needs to travel. So when that means that we just want to make sure we're aiming here. Also, this is going to mean that if we're shooting into shields, shooting into around the corner, down a corridor, we're just spamming. All of our default shots are going to be body level, but if we're aiming at head level, now all of our default shots are now head level because we're just aiming there. So that just makes our default primary fire go there. Right now, when the same kind of moving on from there is kind of similar. We're going to also aim where we know people are going to be. If we know someone's on the left side, we're going to pre-aim head level on the left side. So when he comes back around the corner, we're already aiming at his head, and it's very little adjustment. Right. Here we know he's on our top left, so we're pre-aiming left side, aiming head level, so when we turn the corner, we're already aiming at his head, right? These guys are a little bit sloped downwards, so the same way on a Torb we look down, and on a tank we're going to look up. Here we're going to look down a little bit, right? So here we're going to turn the corner, and boom, we're already looking at his head, right, because we're already aiming there, right? So that's just crosshair placement. Make sure we're doing that because we come out on the Widowmaker, for example, and just are hitting body shots when it's pretty decently easy to hit headshots on Widowmaker because she's basically standing still, because when you scope in on Widowmaker, you move super slowly, right? Like when you're scoped in on Widow, you're like just doing a little crawl. So it means you're basically standing still, and then also she has a pretty big head hitbox. So just go for the headshots.
Gotcha. Okay.
Arriving at
And then if you concentrate on crosshair placement, that's how you improve your aim and get better at aiming, and that's how you can go from having mediocre aim to having good aim. Okay, skip back to where we were.
Enemy turrets down. Here it comes.
Okay. Positioning, make sure we are retaking the best positioning possible in between fights. Probably that in this situation would be like top left, right here, right up here, because this would give us really good visibility over the entirety of point. Top over here would maybe make us put us a little bit in danger of some people coming up to the high ground and contesting us, but top left gives us a little bit more visibility over that. And then also this doesn't give us as much visibility over like underneath us, or we can't see as well underneath. So being top left here would probably be where we want to be for all the reasons why we talked about high ground is good before. Just look to use your coach gun to get back up there. So on the note of target priority, let's go over this real quick. Off angles, right? An off angle essentially is an angle that gets you around the tanks and the shields, right? We talked about how you don't want to be sitting there shooting at tanks and shields all the time, right? You want to be getting to the supports and the DPS because those are the easy things to kill. So an off angle is something that is an angle you can use to get around them. So for example, if this is the main angle right here, an off angle would be doing this. Now we've just gotten around the tanks and just gotten straight to the Ana and the Mercy, right? And off angle also can act as, it can be a high ground, right? Where we can be above, I guess, like they technically you can't see them from here, but this would act as an off angle. But being over here, right, you can see how when we're up here, we can just immediately get past the Reinhardt and the Roadhog, right? Now, not all high grounds act as off angles. It has to be above them, right? Of course, like of course, a high ground all the way over here doesn't do anything, but a high ground that's above would do something, right? So take high grounds, take off angles, right? And these are going to allow you to get around the tanks and the shields and get to their side and get to the supports and the DPS, right? Which is what we probably want to be doing here rather than just shooting at a Reinhardt shield.
Got it.
And you just notice all the body shots just because we're aiming down there. Okay. Real quick, just use Coach Gun to take the high ground again. We probably still want to be up there. Nice headshots. Okay. Good kill. I like that we actually Coach Gunned him away that time. Using Bob. Nice timing. Really good. But wait, actually, looking back at that. Actually, never mind. I take that back.
Yep.
I didn't even think I wasn't even paying attention myself. But this is a situation we probably should have been paying attention in game, right? To just how the flow of the fight, right? In the situation, Bob is not necessary because it's a 1-2-3-4-5 versus a 1-2-3. So this is a pretty one fight, in which case Bob is just overkill, as we discussed before. And then we're going to see we're about to cap, and they're not going to contest it, and then now Bob just gets largely wasted. So actually, I didn't even pay attention when I even said that, right? But besides that, there's a Torb like right next to us, and we don't notice him. Notice how we're looking down at the Ana when there's a Torb an inch from us.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
Right.
that is awareness, right? Paying attention to our screen, because Torb was on our screen here. We come down here and he's like right there on our screen, listening, keeping our ears open. And when we do, you're gonna notice you're gonna die a whole lot less, and you're gonna be able to make better decisions. You're gonna be able to shoot at better things, okay? So that we're not dying to Torbjorn when he's an inch from us.
Bless your heart. Enemy turrets down.
Enemy turret destroyed.
Team up for special attack.
Okay. If they're that far away, take the top left high ground instead. This is a whole heck of a lot closer, gives you better angles, lets you shoot, just throw a dynamite up around the corner. This, being this far back, doesn't do nearly as much for us as being on the top left. Being on the top left to be very, very valuable for us and be much better positioning. You kind of just see that based off of like this visibility and distance and our ability to actually land a dynamite from that range, right? That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I see that.
Let them out.
So we do actually notice that, but now we just wasted a bunch of time on a high ground that didn't do anything for us. Right. We also have had a coach gun there that we could have just used to get up the high ground real quick, and we don't. Right. Okay, and we won. So a whole heck of a lot of everything. To be honest, it's just like a lot of all over the placeness. Usually you see a lot of trends like that happen. Where like one person will keep doing the same things over and over and over again. And what I would imagine it is that we just do a whole lot of stuff. We make a whole lot of mistakes, but we kind of rotate through them. So like we'll make the the target priority mistake a little bit, and we're just making a lot of tiny mistakes, a ton of them, and they all add up, and then we just do that every game, right? So it's not like we only struggle with target priority or we only struggle with actions per minute, but it's a lot of tiny stuff that really adds up throughout all of them. So here, why don't we get into, and we of course want to look to cut out those things because then we start to improve our gameplay. So we'll get into the main point, the main points of the session, the review, and then wrap up the session from there. So we were on, I'm blanking on the character, we were just playing Ashe, right? So go over some of the stuff real quick. Number one thing to work on was, let's think real quick. Probably the top ones are pretty even, but I'd probably say mechanics took the cake for number one. Couple different reasons. First off, just general mechanics of going pew pew and shooting at things. It wasn't the best, it also wasn't the worst. It's probably like kind of medium, but we also talked about crosshair placement, making sure we're actually hitting headshots, so that was a big one, right? Aiming where we know people are going to be. Then on top of that, we talked about target priority, right, and aiming and shooting at the right things. Whereas I'd probably say we spent a little too much time shooting at the wrong things, right? We just shoot at the tanks a lot and the shields when we could be shooting at at better things, right? So that was a decently sized one. And then also we have actions per minute, which again, it wasn't like super massive, but it was a thing that added up into in the category, to where we just want to make sure we're doing stuff constantly and we're not taking random pauses and breaks in our gameplay, right? And then all of that adds up to mechanics being the number one category to work on, right? Number two is going to be probably, that's tough. I would probably say it stinks because it's actually, just keep in mind that these top three are really like all are pretty interchangeable. I'm just gonna give you them in an order, but just so you know which one to work on first. But they're honestly, you could work on any of them and be fine because they're pretty even. The bottom two are just really not even in the same category, just because you're so much better at the other two. Whereas these are kind of all kind of tied for first ish. But I'll give you a list anyways. We'll put number two at your awareness, being we just didn't notice a whole lot that was going on around us. So pay attention to your health bar, request healing when you're low. Pay attention to where's our team and where's the enemy team, because we just sometimes didn't notice when there were like people right next to us or on top of us. Make sure we're reacting faster when we have like a DPS on top of us. Like there were like multiple times where someone would be like an inch from us, like right next to us, and we would just be very delayed in recognizing that, right? Make sure that we're paying attention to kill feed, right? Being, just as a quick reminder, 1 to 2 is an advantage or disadvantage. You play aggressive or passive accordingly. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. No ults in a won or lost fight. And then also on top of that, make sure that we are we're going in and getting more kills in a one fight. And if we've lost the fight, we're looking to get out if possible. And if not, just let them kill you, right? And that's pretty much it. So then onto positioning, which, like I said, like it's in number 3, the number 3 slot, but honestly, this could even be tied for number 1. So these are very interchangeable. Just keep that in mind. Positioning, making sure that we're not out in the open, right? Use cover properly. Properly good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. And then besides that, make sure we're taking high grounds more often. We just kind of didn't take them when they were an option, and we would like kind of not come out on high grounds. Make sure we are kind of prioritizing them a little bit. Make sure we're taking off angles to take better target priority, right? To get to the things you're trying to shoot at, right? Main angle, enemy team, our team, right? Off angle would be like if we just went to the high ground real quick, and now we've gotten around the tanks, around the shields, and straight into the back line. It's really safe here, right? Take high grounds, take off angles. Another example would be like, our team, their team, main angle, off angle, just be coming in here real quick, right? Dynamite, kill them. And then that is the main things with positioning. Also, also range, right? Make sure we're not way too far away, but we're keeping a medium range right now, all the way back here where we do very little damage, right? Then besides that, let's see, the other two, we'll do ults next. Ults is number 4. Honestly, really, really good. This is in a completely separate ballpark than the other ones. Like it's not needing nearly as much work. The only thing is just make sure you're not make sure you're paying attention to when they have sleep, so that Bob isn't getting slept, and then also make sure we're not ulting in a lost fight, which was just, in a lost or one fight. We ulted in a one fight the one time, right? And then finally, the last one would just be your ability usage. Make sure that we're not, make sure that we're just dynamiting off a cooldown every time we get it. And then when again he's on top of us, we're coach gunning him directly, so we both go away. Like we send him backwards, we go backwards too. Make sure we're doing that as fast as possible. We're not, coach gunning ourselves into walls. And then that's about it, right? Like I said, those are like completely separate ballparks. The top 3 are kind of like a kind of a 8 out of 10 importance, whereas the bottom 2 are kind of like a 3 out of 10 importance. Like it's not really the same, so just focus on those ones before you really get to work on the bottom ones. Do you have any questions on anything we've talked about?
No, I think my only question would be, as far as improving my crosshair placement and things like that, do you just recommend me doing, I guess, what you're doing now, just come into the practice range and just spend time in here?
I probably wouldn't say that that's a super effective way to go, to go about it. Like that's maybe if you're just trying to like as soon as you're done, you're just trying to get a feel for it. Like you can maybe spend the first time just going through the training range and just try to keep your crosshair head level, try practice it out. But the big thing is you're just gonna go around your gameplay like you normally would, but you're gonna really focus in on your crosshair placement. That's how you look to improve on anything you're trying to get better at. Is you focus on it while you play, right? So while we're playing competitive and we're playing the game, we're going to be going through and we're going to be intentionally thinking about, if that's the first one we're focusing on, we're going to be intentionally thinking about our aim. So our brain, we're not going to autopilot, we're not going to just play to win, and we're not going to just play to play. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on our crosshair placement. So we'd go through and our brain would look like this, where we go crosshair, 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 right? And when we're doing that, we're going to notice that, oh snap, we're paying a lot more attention to it. And when we pay a lot more attention to it and we put a lot of effort and thought into it, your crosshair placement is going to start to seem a little bit better. And as you go along and you do practice at that for, however long it takes, right? Might be a week, might be 2 weeks, right? However long you take to practice at it, it'll start to form as a habit. And once it's formed as a habit, you no longer need to focus on it at all, right? Because you've already got it down. Now, finally, just make sure you're not doing everything all at once. We talked about a lot of different things, that if you try to focus on all of them, that becomes overwhelming. Instead, focus on like one category of things or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. Right?
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm going to end the recording here.